You alright all? Hopefully this picks up the audio okay. I'm walking at the minute, but I just wanted to get this video out of the way, save me time later. So, about 3 weeks ago, I was on the train back from Birmingham, and it was really difficult to get on. You had the Sunderland fans getting on the train to Newcastle. Obviously the train I wanted to get on was obviously going to stop off at Derby on the way, and it was literally impossible to get onto that train. So I had to wait a full hour for another train, and I seem to think this one was heading towards Leeds, and it was coming back from Plymouth. So we had all the football fans on again, because by chance Leeds had been playing Plymouth. So I got on, and there was no room at all to sit on. All the seats were taken, pretty much most of the corridors were taken. And I was literally at one point, after everybody had got on, stood with my head probably about an inch away from the door and about an inch behind me. I took my rucksack off, put it down at my feet just to make a bit more room, but it was still impossible to move around. And we ended up in this situation where it was me and this other bloke just pressed up against the door window, and this went on for a good hour and a half maybe. Horrendous, absolutely horrendous. But the point I'm getting to, there was this woman who got on at Birmingham just as the train was about to leave off, about to set off. I turned around and looked at her, and she had this really NPC vacant look in her eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes, and the football fans started chanting and singing at some point, and I overheard her say something about racist or something like that. And as time went on, obviously the lads had been drinking, so the Leeds lads were coming down the train, and at one point one of them goes, "Who said this country isn't broken?" You know, a couple of us chuckled because looking around us, a third to half the people were immigrants, so if they weren't there, fully enough we'd have more room. And this woman, she went, 14 years, that's all I'm saying. And at the time I wondered, what does she mean by that, 14 years? It didn't dawn on me until we got to Derby. She meant 14 years of Tory rule. She was another, obviously, Labour voter. Oh, it's the Tories, it's the bloody Tories. She should love the bloody Tories. Was it 1.4 million immigrants they brought in last year? And it's nothing against them as such, but common sense would tell me that train is a good metaphor, analogy, whatever you want to call it, between the UK or Ireland for that matter, or Europe even, but particularly UK being an island. There's a limited amount of room you can squeeze people into before there's problems. Now, I've made this after today, well this weekend in London on the Underground, but it's another good example. I think the Underground on the weekends isn't as bad as it is during the week. I think during the week London's a busier place because it's more of a working environment. I noticed a lot of the shops on the weekend are shut, so obviously they're more geared up for people who are working rather than tourism. You know, there's millions of people who come into the City of London around Bank, Liverpool Street during the week, but I think it's quieter on the weekend, and that was quite evident today. But to get to a point of all these delusional liberal idiots who are voting for Labour, you know, Labour is going to open the floodgates up even more. Tories have been horrendous. Tories are Labour but with a blue tie. You're telling me Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman and Priti Patel, they talk tough but they don't do anything. They're there to be a false opposition for any real conservatism in this country. That's what they're here for. To get in the way, to block any real right-wing nationalist, I know dirty words in the modern world, aren't they, because of all the brainwashing, but they're there to block it. That's what the Tories are about. They're a bunch of fake conservatives who practice the ideology of liberalism. All of it's happening under the Tories. Mass immigration, multiculturalism, shutting people down who speak out against it. But yeah, I thought what's happened this weekend with being crammed in on the underground was now was the right time to make the video and get out off my chest. Yeah, so there's a limited amount of space is what to finish on. And one last thing before I forget, there is a lot of countryside left in the UK, granted, but you Liberals obviously apparently love the countryside, but yet you want to build on it all, and you're concerned about climate change. Well, all these people are going to need more phones, cars, electricity, so you know it kind of goes against what you're preaching, doesn't it? You Greta Thunberg kind of worshipping people, and that's that. Cheers. Just to add a tiny bit more, obviously I've got that now, but just to add a tiny bit more. Also, that train again is a good analogy for the amount of strain it puts on everything. The strain on the train, on the rail, the amount of extra work, maintenance has to go on to keep everything running. Everything. It's just a prime example of, yet again, it can't be sustained, you know, on the scale it is now. It's totally unsustainable. Now, and also to finish on, people need a solution. So obviously you need to finish on a solution. My solution is personally, like many others, I'm not going to vote. I'm going to show them, like I always have done to be fair, that I don't believe in their system anymore. The only time I've ever voted was on the Brexit vote, obviously to leave the EU. Now, that would have been honoured properly had it been delivered and driven and directed by people who actually believed in Brexit. But unfortunately it wasn't, was it? It was fair enough they might say they wanted to leave, Boris Johnson might say he wanted to leave. They're all subscribed to this big global dystopian nightmare that the Klaus Schwab and his mates have got planned. You know, they're all on that payroll. They're all working on it. They talk tough and they say the right things from time to time. Might get the odd big headline for the newspapers, but they're full of shite, aren't they? We all know that now. And it's great to see a lot of people also clocking onto that. It's just completely broken. The two-party system is really one party, and it's more geared towards the Labour side. It's definitely not steered towards the right-wing conservative side, is it? So the solution is don't vote and just show them you don't believe in it. Some people go on about voting reform. Yeah, by all means, you know, if you want to go and do that. But again, I don't really trust them either. I think it says more that people don't vote. And he hasn't exactly inspired me, to say the least, but whatever his name is, Tyson, something like that. It doesn't interest me or inspire me. So I wouldn't vote for someone like that either. Because again, I think he's just another controlled opposition brought out to as a little protest vote, probably put in place by the usual suspects that meet up at Davos to capture the disgruntled Conservative voters. So yeah, I'd say just don't vote. Show them you don't believe in the bollocks they're talking anymore, that you're wising up to their system and that it's totally broken. And yeah, that will be it. Cheers.